Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us.
We're going to kick off the day with a keynote talking about practical advice for overcoming today's CISO challenges. The keynotes will be delivered by respected cybersecurity expert Bryan Littlefair. His company, Cambridge Cyber Advisor, is helping companies on how to better react to an ever-changing threat and risk landscape. They believe in a proactive and threat-led approach to security and tackling the challenges head-on. So without further ado, please welcome Bryan.
Hello everyone. It's great to be able to speak to you all today, and welcome to the second day of your Think In conference by LogPoint. As you're all aware, today's theme is focused around the CISO challenges and the cyber skills gap. And in my section, we're going to be looking at the techniques, tactics, and coping mechanisms for the CISO and security professionals, so whether we can all thrive and prosper in today's time. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bryan Littlefair. I'm the CEO of Cambridge Cyber Advisors, and previously I've been the global CISO for numerous large organizations like Vodafone Group or Aviva, to name a few. We're going to be spending the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. I'm just going to talk to you about some of my personal experiences, techniques that I've used to react to changing times. And hopefully I can instill some new techniques and approaches so that you can be proactive to the security challenges that we're all facing today. But first of all, I think we can't ignore the elephant in the room. We need to add a little bit of context into why the world has changed. COVID-19. We can't ignore the fact that the world of the CISO has been turned upside down and back again. Previously, secure ways of working that we'd orchestrated and implemented within our organizations had to be changed, or at least for most, they were challenged to the very limit. Our security policies, our procedures, our guidelines, the instructions that we'd implemented in our organizations to enable them to work securely were no longer aligned to the way the business was operating. Business continuity and disaster recovery had to be invoked for many, and we all had to pull out that dusty pandemic flu policy that was always part of our policy library, but it's seen daylight for the first time in modern history. For many of us, remote working was the norm, along with all of its challenges that it's brought. IT was introducing new technology and workarounds at breakneck speeds. Interim risk acceptances had to be put in place, and now it looks like a lot of them are going to be becoming permanent. And all of that we had to cope with, probably with an existingly stretched team from a resource perspective. But actually, I think it's good practice. It's good experience for the future. Many people actually like some of the changes that have been introduced by COVID-19. They like the flexibility of where they're going to work from. They like the ability to not have to do that morning commute and work from home. And our customers are no different. They want that fast innovation. They want that choice. So that means businesses have to be able to react rapidly to those changing market dynamics. So that highly dynamic and fluid business models are here to stay, in my opinion. So how does the security team shine and prosper in times like this? I think you have to be flexible. You have to be able to react to that change at the same time, if not the quicker than the business. Security used to be described as a reactive science. It now needs to be definitely ahead of the curve. And how many of you listening to this today actually feel confident in your own team's ability to be able to do that? In my opinion, and what I've used before in my past, it's about getting the security team off the back foot. You have to think strategically. You can't use up your entire resource purely on tactical initiatives. The strategic objectives have to be fully linked to the business priorities. The business should have a clear strategy and plan of where it wants to go. The IT team will come up with a view of how they enable that, and the security strategy has to be aligned to both of those. You need to give a clear line of sight to the people working in your security team on how they're contributing to that. Their objectives, the initiatives that they're working on. There should be a clear view of how they're contributing to the success of the organization by delivering the security strategy. But conversely, the business can also see the contribution that the security team is making. I think our security staff need to be able to focus and develop these skills in these new areas, and when required, make changes. The security team has to be dynamic and flexible. We need to be able to ask people to focus on new areas that are coming in from our risk radars and our threat intelligence radars. We can't afford to be able to go through reorganizations or changing the target operating model every time this comes up. We have to be agile, we have to be fluid, we have to be relevant to the business of today. Of course, people still need structure and formality in their career. They need to know where they're going. They need to know the hurdles that they have to jump over to be able to progress. But you absolutely have to be relevant to that business going forward. And in order to do that, your people are going to have to be flexible in terms of what they're working on. You need to understand where the business is going and what they're trying to achieve, both from a business strategy, but equally from a technical perspective. You definitely can't be the department of no. You can't be viewed as the bottleneck. You can't be seen as that slow process that people want to circumvent. You have to deliver quality outcomes, and the business wants to work with you because you do that. In terms of the carrot and the stick, it has to be the carrot. If you force people to follow an inefficient process, then obviously you're not going to get the right outcomes for the security function, and the business is definitely not going to get the right outcomes that it requires as well. You need to be that guiding light to the business, showing them how they can perform new activities, but how they can do it securely. The security teams of today have to be a flexible pool of talent at all levels. I'm looking at apprenticeships, I'm looking at graduates, all the way up to the senior leaders in the security function. But that agility, that ability to be dynamic, that ability to react to changing business conditions, that's going to be a way of life going forward. Agile and dynamic, not static and stagnant. I don't think there's any getting away from the fact that you do need appropriate levels of resource throughout the security organization. I often look at the amount of risks that I have under management and understand, have I got the right skills? Have I got the right resource to be able to do that? And actually communicating that gap or that challenge into the business. But in order to do that, you absolutely have to optimize your security function. The business won't want to allocate extra resource and budget into an inefficient area. So really focus your skills and capability on gaining that visibility across your environment, whether that's on-prem or off-prem, owned by you or delivered by a third party. That holistic coverage of capability and tools is absolutely critically important. If you've only got partial coverage, you've only got partial protection. With networks and systems being constantly probed, users being targeted in their inbox, we've got unprecedented levels of attack campaigns going on at the moment, especially due to COVID. You can't afford to have any gaps in your defenses. The old saying of defense in depth might be a very old one, but in my view, it's timeless wisdom. And only with these things in place can you actually stop treating potential threats to your business as incidents. Many organizations I work with don't have a clear enough view of their environment. They haven't got an up-to-date CMDB. They don't know every user on their network. So they haven't got that real-time view of their state of their security. So when a threat presents itself, maybe from a new group of malware or something coming in by the threat intelligence feeds that you have, they have to mobilize incident management to understand whether that actually impacts them. Threat should be a key part of your risk management processes. The external threat to your business is definitely going to change on a daily basis. And in some sectors and organizations, it changes minute by minute. All of that threat intelligence needs evaluating, it needs overlaying with the context, and it needs to be distributed to the relevant stakeholders within the organization. And please use your risk function as the guiding light for your security programs of activities. No longer can you set a 3-year plan of activity for security transformation and change. It needs to react to the internal and the external threat and risk dynamics. Those priorities and activities are going to change. As the risk changes internally and externally, you need that fluidity within your programs. As mentioned earlier, you need to optimize your internal and external capabilities. Why have highly skilled security resource focused on tasks that can easily be automated or augmented with effective processes and technology? My advice to you is automate, automate, automate. Free up that skilled security expertise that you've got within your team to strategically focus on where you're going, not purely just fighting the fires of today. An important part of that optimization journey should be consolidating your security vendors, ensuring that you're only working with the best or the best for your particular organization. Organizations like LogPoint, who have pulled this conference together today, it can deliver real actionable insights overlaid with the context. That's exactly what you need to drive that risk reduction for your organizations. And another focus area has to be to develop your strongest asset, which is your people. I'm not talking about your security team. I'm talking about your people, every employee within your organization. Personally, in my background, I've strived to get 10% of the security knowledge that I have within my team into 100% of my workforce. I want to enable them to be able to self-protect from the threats and risks that they're going to face in their inbox every single day. Your people are your biggest asset. I definitely don't subscribe to the view that when people say that they're the weakest link. And as your business transforms their operations, the security teams need to invest in the training and development, as well as the recruitment of new skills into the teams. There has been and will continue to be a rapid flow towards cloud as organizations are driving their data center zero strategies. They don't want to maintain those costly on-prem infrastructures and communications links. They want to be able to expose their network capabilities and security capabilities via frameworks like SASE. It is the future, it's the way forward. There's a significant shift and it's going to take time to implement. And while that rollout is happening, we're all going to exist in a hybrid model. We're going to have some services on-prem and we're going to have some off-prem. And I see security leaders every day that fully embrace the cloud, and I see others, quite frankly, that are not comfortable with it. But obviously the business benefits, the drivers, the cost reduction, the fluidity, the flexibility, the ability to turn things off and on when they're not required, they're going to outweigh the security concerns. So security needs to get at the table with the IT and the business, and we need to guide them by architecting a secure environment going forward. Give them the guide rails that they can operate within. Give them the benefit of our security expertise and knowledge, and enable them to go faster and not be a bottleneck. The challenges of being a security leader today are wide and varied. There's an increasing number of complex threats and risks under management. Some are very difficult to understand. Some are extremely difficult to mitigate. And on top of that, we're presented with a very complex supply chain risk to evaluate as well. But regardless, to truly prosper in today's world, CISOs and security leaders are going to have to align with those business priorities, deliver those quality services, ensure that people want to work with your team because you actually deliver them benefits, you deliver them the outcomes that they need, not because of the title or because they have to, because of a process. I really thank you for your time today. I know you're going to have a fantastic second day. I think it's going to be an amazing learning experience for you all, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Bryan, for opening up day 2 of the Thinkin conference. What an incredible insight from a industry leader. And I know that your work is influencing both large and small businesses.